Hello, friends, and welcome to Crash or Safe to Limit, where the inexplicable has an explanation. Today, we will dive into the human mind to discover what really happens when we lose control in everyday situations. Not only will we show you the most shocking conflicts, but we will also unravel the science and psychology behind each reaction. Get ready for a fascinating journey to the heart of the most extreme behaviors, analyzed with the best technology and most advanced knowledge. This is not just another viral clips channel. Here you will understand the why behind the phenomena. Ring the bell, because in Crash or Safe to the Limit, reality always beats fiction. Translated with dpel.com, free version. Have you ever wondered what goes through someone's mind when they completely lose control in public? According to the most recent data, more than 1.7 million incidents of public aggression are reported in the United States each year. And the most shocking thing is that 68% of these cases occur due to situations that began as simple misunderstandings. What seems like a simple altercation is just the tip of the iceberg of a complex psychological phenomenon. In the last 5 years, conflict in public spaces have increased by 37%, revealing a worrying trend in social behavior. Your brain has a primitive alarm system that is activated by threats. It's called the amygdala, and it's responsible for your fight or flight response. The fascinating thing is that this system doesn't distinguish between a tiger about to attack you and someone who insults you in traffic. To your brain, both are threats. What's happening at that moment is not just an angry person. It's someone whose brain has gone into survival mode. In this state, the rational part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, literally shuts down. It's as if your brain is running an emergency program where logic and consequences no longer matter. A study from Stanford University revealed something surprising. When we are in the state of emotional hijacking, our brain processes information 5 times slower, but reacts 3 times faster. It's the perfect recipe for making disastrous decisions. Racial conflicts are particularly intense. Researchers found that the brain processes prejudices in areas linked to fear and mistrust. When these prejudices are activated, reasoning ability is reduced by up to 40%. A revealing fact. According to a study published in the journal Nature, 94% of people who had violent outbursts reported physical warning signs minutes before. The problem is that most of us don't recognize these signs. These signs include increased heart rate, rapid breathing, muscle tension, especially in the jaw and fists, tunnel vision where you only see what's bothering you, and a feeling of heat rising through your body. Modern neuroscience has identified effective techniques to stop this emotional hijacking before it takes over. The 4-7-8 breathing technique has been shown to reduce amygdala activity by 60% in less than 90 seconds. Inhale for a count of 4, hold for a count of 7, and exhale slowly for a count of 8. This simple action sends signals to your brain that there is no immediate danger. Another research-backed technique is psychological distancing. A study from the University of Michigan showed that people who imagine themselves watching a situation from a distance, as if it were a movie, reduce their anger 73% faster than those who did not use this technique. Many conflicts escalate because people seek to have the last word, a phenomenon psychologists call competitive escalation. Every person feels that they must overcome another's aggression in order not to appear weak. A surprising fact, 78% of people who end up arrested for assault report that at some point they wanted to walk away, but felt they couldn't lose face in front of others. Social neuroscience has revealed something fascinating. Your brain reacts to social rejection by activating the same areas that are activated by physical pain. Literally, for your brain, being humiliated hurts like a blow. The bystander effect explains why people don't intervene in conflicts. Our brain is programmed to follow the group. If no one reacts, your brain assumes that you shouldn't react. An experiment from Columbia University showed that when there is a public conflict, 87% of people look at others before deciding whether to intervene. If others don't do anything, you won't either. Experts recommend a non-confrontational distraction technique. Instead of saying calm down, which can escalate aggression, asking a relevant question like, does anyone know what time it is? Can interrupt the escalation pattern without making yourself a new target. According to a 2024 study, People who use their phones to record conflicts instead of seeking help increase the likelihood of the situation becoming violent by 43%. The act of recording can be perceived as further provocation. Social media represents a new frontier of conflict. Researchers have found that aggressive online interactions can cause physiological changes similar to face-to-face conflict. Your brain doesn't fully distinguish between a digital threat and a real one. One crucial difference. Online, lack of eye contact reduces empathy by 86% according to studies from the University of California. This is why people normally quiet people can become extremely aggressive behind a screen. The next time you feel like you're about to lose control, remember, your brain is running an old program designed for a very different world. You have the power to update it beyond brain mechanisms. Psychology reveals deeper layers about why some people are more likely to trigger and maintain conflicts. The root of aggressive behaviors does not arise out of nowhere. It is built as a complex emotional architecture that develops from childhood. Multiple investigations show that people with a high tendency to conflict share specific psychological patterns. The first fundamental factor is the upbringing environment. Individuals exposed to family environments where verbal or physical violence was frequent develop what psychologists call behavioral modeling. That is, they unconsciously replicate the communication and conflict resolution patterns they observed during their development. A child who grew up watching his parents resolve disagreements by shouting or through threats will unconsciously learn that this is a normal way to handle disagreements. Their brain literally forms neural connections that associate confrontation with a survival strategy. Low emotional intelligence plays a crucial role. People who have difficulty recognizing and managing their own emotions tend to have lower tolerance thresholds. For them, any situation that makes them uncomfortable immediately becomes a threat that must be neutralized. The psychological mechanism behind this is fascinating. When someone has low emotional intelligence, their brain interprets situations in a more extreme way. A comment that for one person would simply be annoying, for them represent a personal attack that requires an immediate and forceful response. The theory of defensive narcissism explains another interesting component. Many people who tend toward public conflicts have a fragile self-esteem that they protect through confrontation mechanisms. Any situation that they perceive as a potential humiliation triggers a disproportionate response. It is as if they were extremely sensitive psychological armor. A comment, a look, or a minimal gesture can be interpreted as an attack on their identity. Their reaction is not proportional to the stimulus, but to their own interpretation of it. The fear of social rejection, deeply rooted in our evolutionary psyche, becomes an additional fuel. For these people, losing a conflict means more than just a disagreement. It represents an existential threat to their social status and identity. Psychologists have identified what they call reactive personalities. These are individuals whose nervous system is constantly in a state of heightened alert. Their threshold for perceiving threats is significantly lower compared to the rest of the population. A longitudinal study conducted over 15 years revealed that these people have higher levels of cortisol, the stress hormone. Their body literally lives in a state of readiness for confrontation, which exponentially increases the likelihood of triggering conflicts. Psychological compensation is another fascinating mechanism. Many people who publicly seek conflict are trying to compensate for feelings of inadequacy or inner emptiness. Confrontation becomes a way to feel powerful, visible, important. It is as if every conflict were an opportunity to shout to the world, "I exist. I am important." Attention, even if it is negative, becomes a form of validation, a primitive but incredibly powerful psychological mechanism. The absence of effective communication skills exacerbates this problem. When one does not know how to express needs, emotions, or disagreements assertively, confrontation becomes the only language available. Unresolved traumas play a fundamental role. Many people who develop aggressive behaviors have experienced helpless situations in the past. Aggression then becomes a protection mechanism, a way to avoid feeling vulnerable again. Today's society, with its multiple stressors, work pressure, economic uncertainty, information overload, acts as a catalyst. For people with psychological fragility, these elements exponentially increase the likelihood of triggering conflicts. Social media has added an additional layer of complexity. The possibility of confrontation without immediate consequences has created a new ecosystem where aggressive behaviors can manifest themselves without traditional social breaks. A revealing fact: 62% of people with psychological fragility of people who display frequent aggressive behaviors report feelings of loneliness and invisibility. Confrontation becomes their method of establishing connection, even if it is through a destructive mechanism. The good news is that these psychological patterns are not immutable. Neuroplasticity shows that with adequate therapeutic intervention, emotional education, and self-regulation techniques, it is possible to modify these behaviors. The key is an awareness. Recognizing one's own patterns, understanding the underlying psychological mechanisms, and developing emotional intelligence tools can radically transform the way a person relates to conflict. In Real Impact, we will continue to unravel the mysteries of human behavior. Don't miss any video, subscribe. Each conflict is a story, each reaction a window to our psychological complexity. Until the next trip to the depths of the human mind.